Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of Half-Rate Heroes on Open for Adventure. I can hear myself. Should I be able to hear myself? Hold on one second. I think that's me, actually.
Yeah, probably got the.
That's
the
me.
stream going.
Just kidding. Off to a great start. You might notice that the D&D Beyond overlay is not our characters. Don't be confused. We have different characters. We'll fix that eventually, probably. It's not a big deal. I'm Katie Quixotic. You can find me here on Twitch and on Twitter and pretty much everywhere as Katie Quixotic. I will be the Dungeon Master for today, and why don't we all introduce ourselves? We'll start with Carl and go clockwise.
Hi, I'm Carl. I play Lafcadio Whitehorn, the Tabaxi Warlock.
That's a bit. Is that Casey?
Oh, it's
Yes,
usually-
Casey.
Yeah, okay. All right. we got an
Here.
absent cleric today. And then after that, I am the Hobgoblin Azamar, Champion of Timora, Paler of Plains, Heckler of Big Fire Chickens, She Who Would Fight the Storm, and now Slayer of Shadows, Nos, the boss of Neverwinter.
Yay!
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And
Good morning, people. I'm John. I'm playing Wampum Thunderbelly, your mountain dwarf battle master for today. And we are about to raid some treasure.
Good morning. My name is Graham, or Graham Crackers, and I am playing Taslin Evriel, your favorite Shadar-Kai necromancer.
What did you almost say?
I couldn't remember. I feel like I played something last night, and I was going to say that.
Who am I? What am I doing here?
I'm having an identity crisis.
That's okay. It happens. I completely understand. So welcome and thank you for joining us. Do we have any other housekeeping stuff besides, hey, we're on the new channel today, woohoo?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. All right, well, cool. Let's start off with a recap. Who would like to do the recap?
I feel like I must because there's egg all over my face from last time saying I did it, but I didn't do it. Graham did it twice in a row, so I got to do it now.
Yeah, that'll teach you.
Yeah. Last episode was 5 hours long. We concluded an arc in which we slayed a shadow dragon who was once an adult black. His name was Neron Vane. And it all started when we killed like an emissary of his. And then he came to get revenge on us. And he ended up doing a really good job of that. So we got really pissed off. And then we hunted him. And we succeeded eventually. A lot of the episode starting off was extra reconnaissance. We wanted to be very careful about what we were getting into. We didn't want to fall into any of his traps, knowing that we were heading directly into his lair, like willingly. So we were flying around on magic carpets, and I don't remember who spotted them, but lo and behold, down there were a bunch of orcs that were still there from a long, long time ago, where a war had raged between orcs and humans, and they had kind of broken off and conquered the territory of the Sword Mountains where we were. Seeing those orcs, we were aware that Neron Vane had allied with the forces of Shar, who is currently causing a big freaking ruckus on a cosmic scale by stealing divinity from other gods, our gods. Which is not okay. So we knew that there were Shadar-Kai in league with Neron Vane. These Shadar-Kai are on the side of Shar against the Raven Queen. I think we have gathered thus far because they don't like being chained to the Raven Queen in that never-ending cycle of eternity that she likes to do, you know? So instead of wasting all of our resources on the Shadar-Kai, we allied with the orcs. And the orcs took care of those Shadar-Kai while we dove straight into Neron Vane's lair and confronted him and did battle. Before that, knowing that we needed to get this right this time and obliterate him, Kale used some of his newfound powers to successfully summon a Kieran, And if you don't know what a Kieran is, it's like a dragon unicorn that is lawful good and huge, and golden and beautiful, and knows all of the healing magics and all of the support things. So she was very integral in the fight for sure. Every single time someone got hit, she like peppered on a little healing, and it worked out quite well. Quite well. It definitely negated a lot of layer effects. So there was, of course, a heated battle. Wampum tanked so good. He took a good amount of beating and damage, and a lot of the spells got the effects and stuff got thrown on him. So he's looking pretty haggard. Out of all of us, he's definitely the worst looking right now. And I think all I need to say now is that we finished it off by, it was Kale that had the final blow, and he performed a new spell of his called Blade Barrier. And it is essentially it's like any of the wall spells, like Wall of Fire, Wall of Force, but it's made out of blades, moving blades. So the end of Narrow and Vein was very messy. And we're kind of standing around now, breathing and catching our wind. And that's where we left off.
Yeah, that was a fun spell. It's like Cloud of Daggers, but like supercharged, so that was really cool. It does dice and slice. I think that was pretty much it. That seems like everything that needed to be covered. Good job. I appreciate that. And then I also wanted to have everyone just talk a little bit about like the mental state of their characters and what they're feeling right now after having this shadow over them from this creature that they've kind of been back and forth with, and now the feeling that you have once this seems to be resolved.
I, as Lafcadio, I'm feeling quite charged that we were able to defeat the Shadow Dragon, and that my patron said didn't say, he hinted by his gifts that I didn't even get to use during the fight because there was this big wall in the way and I couldn't see anything for a good portion of it, and I was restrained from some sort of effect that I don't remember. But I was out of the fight real far away and I couldn't use anything. But he's dead, and that's what my patron wanted, and I'm happy about that. I'm a bit concerned about the orcs who I conscripted to fight, hoping they're doing all right, because I know those Shadakai don't mess around. So I'm relieved that we defeated the dragon, but also concerned about what's going on outside.
Okay, and Casey?
Nos, I think, is trying to calm herself down because she uses rage to fight. But once she succeeds in that, she's probably going to look around and has full intent to, one by one, go around and just give everybody a big hug. We did it, guys. We got him.
And how's Wampum feeling?
Wampum is standing over the head of the dragon, just breathing hard. And then he's thinking, them teeth are going to make a nice necklace.
I love it. And how about Taslin?
Taslin is currently floating down to the floor from his ring of feather fall, and I feel like he was just about to say something really cool and like pull out a wand, so he like awkwardly is like pulling out his hand of his robes and being like drifting down. And I think he's feeling a little distressed, maybe more than a little.
Do you want to talk about why he's distressed?
Well, in the fight, the Neuron Bane hinted that he knew that Taslin was unsatisfied with serving the Raven Queen, and I don't think Taslin really necessarily has told people about that, and it's kind of more of on a hush-hush, like, silent disobedience level. And
I disagree with that. I think he's been very vocal about it, in fact.
That's true. But he's confused that this guy knew about it, because they never really met. And anyway, so then he's also like, man, those scales are going to look really cool on my black robes.
Perfect. All right. Yes. So the dust from Kale's moderate incineration sort of falls, and there is dragon carcass remaining. So that there are scales and teeth and horns and such things to recover. What would you like to do next as the clash of battle ends?
I think Taslim lands on the floor, pulls out his +1 dagger, which from now on shall be known as Dragon Cutter. And he's gonna cut some scales off, maybe an armful of black scales. Being very meticulous about it to kind of reserve it so that later on he can sew it or imbue his robes with some of it.
Okay.
So is
this something he's practiced in? Has he studied dissecting animals and such things? Perhaps?
I would say he probably has a fair amount of skill into it, as medicine is kind of one of the skills that he's very proficient in. And so he requires a steady hand to kind of dissect corpses, both for necromancy and for not necromantic purposes. So,
okay. Yeah, go ahead and make a nature or a medicine check, whichever is better, whichever you think would be most fitting for Taslim.
And as I see him leaning down to do all this, I'm like, fellas, I'm gonna head outside and make sure that fellas are all right. I don't want them to get hurt after I convince them to fight. I mean, they're fighting, so they're gonna get hurt. Someone's gonna get hurt. I just want to minimize that, so I'm gonna head out there and make sure they're doing all right.
If you need help, give us a call on the stone.
Well, it'll go to Kale, but yeah. So a 13.
13? Okay. Roll me a percentile die.
Okay.
And
a 93.
93. Okay. So it's a dagger. You said it's a +1 dagger?
Yeah.
It's a magical dagger, so it's not impossible to cut through dragon hide with it, but it's slow going and it's really tough, and you're being really careful and meticulous about it, so you're able to get a good handful of scales without too much damage, and you have to kind of pick through because Kale definitely intended on incinerating this corpses, so it was less fruitful than you would have hoped due to some of the burning and scoring across it, but you were able to get a good handful of solid, nice, unscathed for the most part, other than natural wear that a dragon would have of these scales, not shales. And yeah, so probably, how many were you hoping for?
Probably, the dragon scales, so they're probably fairly large,
Yeah, they're big.
So probably enough to cover his arms.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you're able to get 5-6 good ones, and you think that a little bit of extra material doesn't hurt just in the armor smithing and such things. Mm-hmm. Is anyone going outside with Lafcadio?
I will eventually.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to. Am I playing Kale or is somebody else playing Kale? How do we do this again? Just a question.
We could try to do it as a group.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because, here's the thing. He rolls IRL, mostly. Mm-hmm. So, primarily, most of his stuff is on D&D Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So, his current known spell list is all up there and stuff. But I think that with all of our powers combined, we could be Kale.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. And I assume that after this is all said and done, if you were to say you're going to go outside and kind of see how the orc allies are doing, maybe Kale would go as I guess maybe they might need to be healed or something like that. Or do you think you'd stay behind?
No, that sounds responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll assume that Kale goes with you.
The other option is him casting augury and being is Lafcadio going alone going to be a good choice? Hold up, Lafcadio. Wait 15 minutes for me to cast a spell.
That's the old Kale.
Oh, you're right. Now he's the battle-hardened Kale.
That's character progression. So we'll say that Kale goes outside with you with the intent of just making sure that if there's any sort of battle casualties he can assist with, that he does. So I'll get his sheet pulled up and see how many spell slots he happens to have left.
He also has a staff of healing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember now. Perfect. Okay. So in the meantime, while Lafcadio and Kale are heading outside, what are you doing, Wampum and Nas?
I'm going to stride over to Wampum, and as I do, my beautiful golden ethereal wings kind of shed behind me, and the feathers fade out of existence. My hair calms down, and I'll say, "Are you all right, old man?"
Never felt better. You
All
did
right.
good, bro. You did good.
You did too. I understand now what it is like to watch me get hurt. Not fun.
Blood just intensifies the experience.
It does. It's also delicious, depending on what it's coming from. Anyways, Arosa, thank you very much for the assist. I'll hop over to her and see if she's willing to allow me to get on her and enable both of us to travel to catch up with Lafcadio and Kale.
Okay. So then we'll jump over to Lafcadio. You exit the sort of opening mouth of the cave entrance. It's kind of odd calling this a cave because it's so like open and wide, but this sort of like enclosure in the top of the mountain that has been worn away by sand and time. And you see before you the sort of like last breaths of the battle that had been going on outside. There are Shatterkai bodies scattered across the ground. They are dismembered. It is very gory. You can tell that these are a tribe of sort of like raging barbarian types. So it was a very looks like hard-won battle as you kind of survey the scene, and you see that there's one clutching their stomach and they're bleeding profusely, and there's one lying on the ground holding like a wound on their leg, and the others are kind of surveying the situation. The chief is standing back and just staring at the opening. And do you come out as yourself, or do you come out as the...
As I'm running, I'm changing into the barbarian.
Okay.
And I look back at Kale and I say, Kale, mate, can you make me speak the language again?
Oh, And he casts, what was it? His tongues, right?
Tongues
Yeah.
is his thing.
Tongues.
He probably
tongues.
also takes that stupid scarf again and covers his head.
Yeah, he definitely would. Just in case. All right, perfect. I know it's on here somewhere. Let's see here. Just to make sure that he prepared it, which he might not have. He did. Okay, perfect. So we'll mark off that spell slot for him. He stops and he takes the kind of... It doesn't take a whole lot of time, but he does have to kind of go through the rubbing the clay and stuff on your face again, even though he can't be seen behind your mask. And you feel imbued with the light and power of Denier, and as if your mind is open to communication.
Thanks, mate. So then when I get out there and I see the situation, I have a reserve of healing power myself. So I will start administrating healing. I have 15 points. Oh, no. Yeah, 14 points of healing light, which is each a d6. And if I see folks that could benefit from those, I would spend them accordingly.
Okay. Of the assembled orc tribe members that are left, there are there was the one holding their stomach. That wound looks pretty grievous, and they definitely look pretty like bad off. As does the one on the ground holding their leg. It's like a long gash on the inside, and there's a lot of blood. You can tell this is the sort of wound that bleeds really quickly. So those two, if you're triaging, would be the two most important. The rest of them have like the marks from the chain that you might be all too well familiar with from previous encounters, and slashes and cuts and bruises on their face. They look like they could use some assistance, but those two are definitely the two that are going to be in dire straits if you're triaging.
Yep, I'm going to prioritize those folks who are nearest to death.
Okay.
Bring them back up with my healing light. I will give those fellas 3d6 each.
Okay.
And that is this guy. Boop.
Perfect. 16 on the first one. Yeah. So you, how does your magic work when you're doing your healing light?
So I'm not in my lion form. So I'm in my human barbarian form, and I still have the crown of stars. How long does that last? Let's see, crown of stars.
That lasts for an hour. Crown of Stars
so
does.
I still have crown of stars around me. Three motes. So I'm. I don't have to touch anyone to do that. So I run out of the cave, and I yell, "Hail, allies!" And I point at the ones bleeding on the ground, and I say, "You are healed! You are healed!"
I love it. And as you do this, you can see the one standing and kind of holding his abdomen, like hunching over just a little bit. There's like this fissure, almost sort of like crisscross across his stomach, as this like almost like just a faint light patches the skin back together and settles the wounds inside. And he takes a breath and moves his hand and looks at it. And there's still blood on his hands and on his abdomen, but the wound seems to be gone as he smears it and is looking around at you. And the sort of like leader, presumed leader anyway, nods as you do this. And the one that's lying on the ground, the same sort of like fissure, sort of like eking light creeps up the inner like of his thigh where he's bleeding. And he was kind of hunched, like sitting against a wall and breathing heavily. And his demeanor changes a little bit. It seems like he's lost a lot of blood. So, this closes the wound, makes him feel a little better, but there's still going to be some recovery time there. But he takes a few deep breaths and looks down at his leg and similarly wiping the blood away and looking in generally a little bit more happy than they did before. And Chief is standing there with his arms crossed. How fare you inside?
I'm thinking.
It's okay. You're fine.
The fight went well. The dragon has been destroyed.
I will come with you to see this treasure hoard.
Excellent.
And as you're talking, Kale has kind of walked around and done like low-level cure wounds a few times on some of the others that had a little bit more like deep gashes. For the most part, several of them looked fine. It looked like 2 suffered the worst wounds, and everything else was like beaten up, but not incredibly like life-endangering. So he's cast a couple of cure wounds on them, and is the leader just starts walking towards you. It doesn't look menacing or anything like that, but the crossed arms go down to his side and just kind of like, all right, let's get this done. Kind of like an attitude about him. And the rest of them stay outside and kind of watch you walk back in.
So I'll be walking and making small talk with this orc leader.
As you turn to come in, that's when Nas and the Kieran kind of make their... So the Kieran, when you asked that, Nas did bow their head a bit, as if to allow you to kind of slide onto the back. And the front of this structure is so close that it takes just moments to walk outside. And you watch and you see the end of this, and this just large, battle-scarred, older-looking, like not elderly, but like worn, fierce warrior standing there with his furs and this giant battle axe on his back. And there's a few scattered like clan members around him, and they're talking. And do you speak in Orcish?
Not Orcish, no. I only speak Common and Goblin.
Okay, so he says something to this human figure next to you, which you changed last time before you left, so they've all seen what you look like in your barbarian form. So you're able to kind of enter the scene as he starts to, the leader type starts to kind of like progress towards the opening of the cave, and Kale has turned and is sort of like making their way to join you, and you're on the back of this golden horned dragon Kieran with this flowing mane.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a shine coming up off of the golden scales of the Kieran, so I'm like underlit with gold. And I would like to visually size this orc chieftain up.
Size them up like for battle or like insight check or
Not so much trying to discover any information. I'm pretty sure that I can glean what I care to glean in this moment, but I want him to know that I'm looking at him and I'm sizing him up.
Gotcha. Okay. He starts to walk, and as you kind of round the corner and present a pretty grand presence, honestly, with this like ethereally magic being that you're riding at the moment. There's like a pause, not as if in fear, but in surprise. Of course, this is a rather majestic scene, and you see this moment of like reflection on their face as you make eye contact and you are sizing him up and he is assessing the situation, and you get the smallest of nods from him as if this seems impressive. Kind of all right. And you're able to all proceed in. So you're making small talk on your way in. Lefkadio?
Yeah, I was going to be asking him, so how did you fare? The Shatter Kai are vicious and deadly warriors.
There are not many who could fall my kin. They nearly did. We are thankful for the assistance you provided in the end there. They would not have lasted. Warriors' deaths are honorable, but the clan is small, and an unnecessary death is not welcome.
I agree 100%. My friend, this is one of our champions. This is Nos of Neverwinter.
Well met. No. Reach way down to offer my hand.
Kind of like warrior clasps it. Like there's respect going on here. You felled a dragon. They fought a glorious battle against these really rather vicious warriors with these, kind of otherworldly abilities, and so it's like tentative. It's not overly friendly, but there's definite respect. I'm gonna
slowly begin to squeeze his forearm in a test of strength.
Ooh, okay. Make an athletics check.
18.
Okay. You squeeze and he squeezes back, and it's like equal. Like he's not going for pain either, but there's that recognition of like a firm handshake kind of situation. And when you squeeze, he squeezes back, and you feel like you're in this moment, your abilities are, or at least your strength level, the energy that you're able to put into this was about even. Good strong firm handshake.
Impressive grip.
She compliments you on your grip.
Does he not speak common?
My friend,
do you not speak common?
Very little. It looks like he understands little bits, but they don't spend a lot of time conversing necessarily with people who speak common. So it's like that sort of like very bare understanding you get from perhaps like observing from afar on occasion.
Champion of Timora.
Doesn't seem to like give a name or any further titles, just a nod of acceptance.
All right, well, let us head back into the cave and see if we can find this beast's treasure hoard.
He nods. Yes, let's. Is there anything special Tazlin and Wampa want to be doing while this healing and conversation is going on?
Yeah. So once Nos leaves, Tazlin gives Wampum a look, and it's a look that he gives Wampum usually right before he does something shady, and he just like pulls out his wand of secrets, and he just goes, "Well, how about we find this loot, shall we?" Yes. And Tazlin moves to the far wall, and I know that before the fight that you had said like up above the cavern there was kind of like an opening, which Tazlin will check out later. But Tazlin wants to make an investigation check to see if there's any hidden walls before he uses his wand.
Okay. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
And would Wampum be helping him?
Well, before Wampum follows you, he's pulling out the front 2 fangs. He's taking a tough grip and just work them back and forth until they let go. And he's going to put both of them on the pommels of his axes.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, go ahead and just make an athletics check then, as your teeth kind of have an easy way to be removed if you're strong enough and have the right tools. So you go ahead with that.
That would be a 29.
Oh yeah, easily. Hand on each fang, maybe a boot in the face to help pry it, whatever it is that you do to get your proper leverage, and you're able to work them out very quickly, actually. So you make it over to the wall and start to look around as Wampum's finished pulling these teeth out.
Yeah, and I rolled a 28 investigation.
All right. You don't find any secret... there are no seams on the walls. There are no hidden buttons in the rock facings. There's no draft coming from underwear, like a secret door might be, or a trap. Trap door might be, not a trap door. Sorry, excuse me. Might be. So you're looking around. You don't find anything like that, but you do see etchings, very, very light etchings in the wall, as if someone had taken a dagger or a sharp rock or something, and had been writing on the wall. What languages do you speak?
Primordial, Common, and Elvish.
There are a lot of symbols that are drawn that can kind of help piece together bits of what might have been a story. This seems to be some sort of cave etching type thing. There are symbols that look like they would be some kind of written languages. Maybe they're labels. Maybe they're commonly accepted symbols to connect to an idea. But there's just these series of drawings. It looks like they're telling stories of hunts and great battles and big game and things like that. And it seems clear that this area used to probably be inhabited by someone other than a shadow dragon at some point, because this seems to be some sort of not prehistoric necessarily, but very, very old, archiving. It's well worn and smooth, and not something that's easy to catch by the naked eye until you're very close to the wall and start tracing what are the carvings versus what would be just the natural rock wall. But you do, of course, see the stairs leading up to the side and the opening off. The stairs look like they are roughly cut into the stone. Similarly, either done a long time ago or done very quickly and without much care for their form, but they do make what are easily ascendable steps up into whatever that opening leads to. And if Kale shared the vision he had when he scried with you, then you know that Neuron Vane was sitting in what looked like a ramshackle study, reading a book, and had eventually exited and descended downstairs. So you imagine that that's probably where that leads.
Okay, Tazlin will head up the stairs. He's not necessarily going to wait for the rest of his party to regroup where they killed the dragon.
I suspected. Wampum will be accompanying him.
Yeah, I've gotten what I want so far, so I'll go ahead and copy me.
Okay, yeah, you managed to yank the teeth out, and there's that kind of sickening suction sound as they finally pull away from their position in the mouth of this dragon. And at the moment, there wouldn't be much of a way of adhering them to your axe handles. You stow them, of course, and Tazlin's over looking at something on the wall and starts heading up the stairs, and you're able to follow easily enough. So the amount of time that takes is probably slightly less than the conversation and the healing that happened outside, but not by a whole lot. So when you ascend the stairs, Tazlin, you do see what looks to be a very, very hastily put together study. There's a very simple wooden table, not fancy, not like you would expect for a true dragon's lair. It looks like this was installed recently and without much care to the condition of it. There are a few bookshelves with little trinkety things and odds and ends and a few books on them around, and then there's another passage towards the back.
Okay. Once I get into the study, I'm going to use a charge on the Wand of Secrets
Okay,
so that I can detect any hidden walls or traps within 30 feet of me.
perfect. And that's an automatic success, right?
Yeah, it
Within 30
is.
feet?
It has 3 charges within 30 feet. Yep.
Okay. So, not in this room. Go ahead.
And it only points the closest one. So.
The closest one. Okay. So, and it goes through walls, I believe, because it's to detect
yeah, I would-
secrets. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense to me. So, not in this room, but it's seemingly on the other side of a wall. The first thing that you detect is a trap. Does it tell you what type of trap it is, or just warn you about it?
So he holds out his wand and it pulses and points. So like the wand is like in his palm and it kind of like rotates and pulses in the
Okay.
direction. I don't think it would necessarily tell him whether it's a trap or it's a door.
Okay,
But-
well, it points on the other side of the wall. You feel like because it's pulling you beyond the edge of the boundary of this room.
Okay.
I'll remember that for next time.
Yeah. How many books are on the bookshelf? Like or on the desk? Is there any like book open that was being read or?
There is a book on the desk. There's actually 2 on the desk.
Casson grabs them, throws them in, and keeps walking. Like, doesn't even stop. Just yoink.
Fair. All right. There's another exit on the other side, and you're able to enter that room. And you can tell that it looks like almost an empty chamber, save for some like some food supplies that seem to not be for a dragon, but more for either the Shatterkai that were fought, or perhaps Neuron likes to eat in human form. Unclear necessarily, but this seems to be like a storeroom. But you detect off in the far side of it, behind a few like large barrels that are slightly heavy. This seemed to be where it was pointing you, and this is about the time that the orc leader and the rest of the group kind of like are making their way back and can survey the general room where Neuron Bane's body, what's left of it, still lies there.
I'm gonna be down next to Rosa's ears, being like, "So you wanna join the team? You can, you could stay. I mean,
Your humor is enjoyable.
oh, okay." Well, I mean, we're done with the dragon. I don't think that we're gonna come up against anything that, like, we need you for. Not like that. So I guess if you wanna go, I'll miss you. I love you.
It is time to take my leave. That is true. I wish to stay a moment longer to make sure my duty remained done. And now that I see that it is, I should leave.
Can we call? Do you want to be called again? If we could have use of your services, or should we try someone else?
If there is need again, and your end of the bargain is fulfilled, I may come.
Wait, we made a bargain? What bargain did we make?
Kale's there with the scarf on his head, and I'm assuming you're speaking in common.
Yeah,
Or are
I'm
you
sure he'd
speaking-
just be
okay.
like, well, I'm gonna go find Taslin now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. And he kind of like heads back towards the body and looking around.
All right, well, whatever it is, I'm sure it's worthy. It's a worthy service task. So I'll acrobatically jump off and stick the landing.
Okay.
And
I'll give you that one. I don't think you need to roll for that.
I mean, I will if you want me to.
No, it's fine. It's impressive. It looks very graceful. And she, or they, I should say, bow their head to you, as they did before, and almost like slowly turning into this golden dust, starting at the front and like the tips of the hair, they just kind of turn into this glittery dust and like fade away on the wind.
So I lean over to our orc friend and say, "See, we have powerful allies, and that dragon lies before us dead."
He nods and he starts kind of like walking forward, like surveying the situation. Looks at the head, at the back of the body, at what would have been the innards in the stomach if they weren't incinerated in piles of ash. Yes, it is done. You fought well. He looks around. Seems at little cost to you. As if to imply that you don't seem terribly, like, hurt by it. Like, this wasn't a particularly taxing battle. He, of course, doesn't see Wampum or Taslim and see how beat up Wampum is, so... he kind of begins circling it, and he points. We wish to retrieve some of these as well, and is, like, pointing at the scales on the back, and, like, one of the horns, like, obviously for trophies and for use in various things. And looks at you as if knowing that wasn't originally part of the arrangement, but seeing how you react.
So, as Lafcadio, I'm thinking back that I know Taslim was harvesting things, and Wampum was with him, so if Wampum wanted anything, I don't think Kale wants anything, I don't want anything. So I look to Nos, and I do an eyebrow.
What?
My friend wishes to share in our victory with keepsakes from this dragon. I note that you have not taken your share yet. Do you wish to retain anything?
Oh, gross. No, not from that. No, absolutely not. I will ask you, though, do we know what we're funding when we're giving them all these things? Like, did he say that he wasn't? Did he assure you he wasn't going to start any wars with humans or anything with this money?
I didn't ask.
Would you mind asking? Because this could fund an army.
So I don't know how tongues work. Does he still understand me even if I'm talking to Nos?
Yes, so you are the impetus of this spell. It was cast upon you, and so when you speak, all can hear, as if in the like biblical sense of speaking in tongues, where it doesn't matter what you're saying, anyone around you can understand the gist of what it is that you're getting at. It's been established that he understands some common at least, so he's kind of watching the exchange, and there's not much of an expression on his face, but you know that he would understand anything that you said.
Be at ease, Nos. Our friend here sees the benefit of having strong allies, and I'm sure a mutually beneficial peace will come of this between orc kind and humankind.
Make a history check for me.
Lafcadio or
Lafcadio in this moment. If you want to, you can as well. This
no
is
real
for-
reason. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a 1, you know. So.
Okay.
14.
So you remember Kale talking previously, I think it was Kale who remembered, about the sort of like history of this place and why there were few of these like clans left, and that they were mostly warring with humans, and the sort of like bloody past of it. Based on what he said in general knowledge of the area, just being like a moderate historian, you notice the sort of like black hand smear paint that had the red streak through it. Of course, it's been like smudged from battle, and there's sweat that has caused some of it to drip, but it's still there, and it was present in your mind because of the battle that started actually only like 10 minutes ago. So you gather that because the history of this place involved conflicts with banners under red, like the crimson something, and there was a black hand or a black sort of like combined force of clans at one point, that this seems to be perhaps some alliance that already exists, and you know that their encampment wasn't that large. So it seems like these are small groups that don't have a lot of people. They have a lot of money, but survival looked like maybe not hanging on a thread, but definitely they're not living like lives of plenty at the moment. And so you say this and you kind of like assessing the situation as you're speaking to them. Battle can be honorable. Big prey is an exciting and rewarding challenge. Histories of...
Absolutely, but past enemies are past enemies.
Well, he's speaking in Orcish right now.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. He's been speaking in Orcish the whole time. Once he established that he was able to understand this entity that he'd been like treating with, he didn't bother necessarily, except that one exchange with you.
Yeah, I was just confused because I was now in the conversation, I guess. Whereas before it was not so much.
Yeah, so the way it happened is like he can understand Lefkadio, and so when you two are having a conversation, he can like he's listening, like he can maybe glean a little bit of like what you're talking about, like keywords that come up often, but like more fancy words, like the vocabulary may not be super expanded, but you can understand what Lefkadio is saying. So it's not like necessarily clear whether he really understood the conversation that you were having or not, and the questions that you were asking. He could only hear and understand Lefkadio's answers. So when Lefkadio turns back to him, he's like engaging him again. So he's like addressing Lefkadio, and he's not making any attempt to like hide his words or anything, but without speaking Orcish, it would be difficult for you to really know unless like Lefkadio is like translating under his breath with like a hand over his mouth or something. Yeah, for you to like, so you're addressed and you're part of the conversation, but he's not making an attempt to speak in common because he's more comfortable in his natural language, if that makes sense.
I am picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, you're not excluded, you just don't necessarily understand what he's saying.
Better not be excluded.
Yeah. War is taxing and takes many lives unduly. We are a small clan. We would rather become prosperous in our own right than wage ancient wars.
You are wise. Nos, our wise friend, also sees the futility of endless and ancient feuds. He and his people only seek the challenge of large game, such as this dragon or the servants of the dragon.
Good. And I'll just give him one of those and then move out of the way.
And when you do that, he does, Lefkadio recognizes this as like some sort of greeting they had where they, with a balled fist, would kind of like clap against their shoulder.
Oh, I know what, okay, yeah. I know what that is. Yeah.
And he says, I started explaining what he was doing, and I forgot what it was I was going to have him say, but it was something to the effect of, in battle honor. And then he extends like the fist out to you as if like, there's a sort of connection there of some kind.
I do it back, but we don't touch. It's not like or anything. It's a.
He's standing on like the other side of a dragon, so yeah.
Absolutely.
This is like a conversation going on over that. So while this is going on, then Taslin and Wampum, Taslin, you are aware that there's something behind these barrels.
Yeah, and that is all I know. How wide is the room and high? Like, I know you said there was like food stuff over in a pile and there were 2 barrels, but is there anything else of note around the room or?
So it's about like the sides kind of curve up in an arching sort of fashion. So at like the height of it's probably about 8 feet tall. Okay. It's probably about 15 feet deep and about 10 feet wide. Of course, it's like rock structure, so that kind of curves in and out and around like corners or additional barrels and crates and such things with like you can see like. There's like the smell of food in there, like a sword kind of like laying across one of them that looks like, again, these are like those sort of like supplies. It seemed to be like a supply room. And then the barrels, these are of like the average sort of like several feet high barrels that you would store water or food in that are over in this corner. And they're pretty heavy, but nothing that like any person with like even moderate strength could like kind of like tip and roll over, and you have wampum with you so you could move them out of your way easily. But it just looks like a really simple rock hewn or like hewn from the rock room that they have kind of like lackadaisically put these supplies in. Okay.
I will use the wand a second time while I'm in this room, since now we're in a separate room. and just verify where it points, and if it points to anything else, I'm going to stand on the far side of the room away from what it was pointing to originally, so that it'll primarily point to anything that's not that.
Okay. So you use the second charge, and you're on the other side of the room, 15 feet away, so you know you've got like a 30-foot radius, so it should kind of like pulse catch anything within that sort of zone, and it points back to the same place.
Well, Wampum, I do believe that over there is something.
And if you follow the eye line and the direction that the like wand has taken your hand and the way that it's pointing, you see it's kind of like pointing up off the ground, surprisingly, and towards like a curve in the roof where there's this sort of like rocky, not like outcropping, but you know, whatever a small outcropping would be in the sense of this, that the wall kind of like bubbles down over, and it seems to be pointing like to that or beyond that.
Tasman will point out. Part of me wants Tasman to just test it out, but Tasman's a little bit smarter than that. So Tasman will get a little bit closer to it. He's not going to walk underneath that bubble.
It's against the wall.
Oh, okay.
It's like if you're looking at this like kind of like rough hewn from the rock wall that curves up into the ceiling, then part of the side of the ceiling just dips down further than the rest of it. So you can walk to a few feet away from the wall and still not have passed that barrier. I'm not saying you have to, but you're not stuck on the other side of the room away from it.
Okay. How thick does the wall seem to look?
It looks like this is like a small little alcove inside the rock of the top of the mountain.
Okay. Taslin is going to check to see if there is a way to open it.
Okay, make an investigation check. Wampum, are you assisting?
I am not proficient in investigation, so.
Taslin is.
Yeah, I think you can still, like, if you assist, it gives him advantage.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, so you can kind of stand there and take a look with him.
My passive is 20. That would be a 24.
24. So the first thing that you notice, because you're kind of focusing on this area first, you were wary of it, you do see behind this sort of like curve, it kind of dips back in, and if you ever so slightly start to lean, you see a tiny little tube hidden behind the sort of curve of this wall. And as you keep looking, you're able to see the faint outline of a door. And there's a portion of stone that, while shaped and of the same color as the rest of the room, there's just, again, like a faint outline, as if you could push or pull it in some way, and something might happen. So there's like an interactable portion of the wall.
Tasman will pull it.
Pull it? Okay, so you reach in and you grab the bit of this like stone that has edges to it. You should make a deck save.
All right. That's a 19.
A 19. Okay. As you pull it, you hear this snapping sound, and there's this like rush of what seems to be wind coming from up on the side, and this just gout of fire comes erupting out of the side of it. And you do manage to kind of like throw yourself backwards, and you kind of bump into Wampum a little bit as you like reel backwards, like knowing something was up over here, but not exactly what it was. And go ahead and for me, Nas and Lefcadio make perception checks. And it just, for several seconds, this white hot flame comes out. You can see it like scorching the side of the rock, and not necessarily melting it, but there's like smoke coming up from where the minerals are burning, and there's this intense smell and heat kind of on your face, and you are going to take some damage.
That's okay. I've got a ring of fire resistance.
Oh, good. That works out really well. Okay, so that's a total of 24. You made your save, so you would take 12. So with resistance, you'd take 6.
Okay.
So
I am
burns the
down
front of
6 temporary HP that I got from Lefcadio being a cool dude.
Yeah.
Or the aid, whatever one it burns through. And Tazin will go, huh. And then he's going to push it this time.
Well, the outline in the wall did like pop back when this happened.
Okay, so is it openable now, or?
It looks like it like sunk into the wall a bit, so you might be able to. And this is the big outline that you saw. That
Tazin
seems to
will
be
try
like
and push it open.
Yeah, and as you do, it kind of like it slides backward and then kind of like swings to the side a little bit. And you see in front of you a few chests and this like pile of gold and electrum and jewels. And just at a glance, you do see a folded up piece of cloth and a large ball made of perhaps like crystal or something along those lines.
Would it be reasonable for Taslin to think this is not all of the dragon's hoard? Like, is it an impressive amount, or is it like a standard amount that Taslin would probably... Maybe Taslin overestimates how much dragons have, but Taslin knows this guy had to spend a significant amount of times in the Shadowfell, so Taslin's thinking is his main hoard is probably on the Shadowfell.
Go ahead and make just like a straight like intelligence or maybe a history check. Or insight. Yeah, insight would be good too.
Okay, well, 12 history, but...
What would be your bonus to insight?
It's a 2.
Okay,
So
well this
I have
history is better.
History. Yeah.
Yeah. This you can't recall any stories of any type of dragon necessarily in recent memory inhabiting this particular area, or at least not like stories of like a great terror terrorizing anyone and stealing, eating their livestock, stealing jewels and valuables and gold, or having minions go and do that in this area. You do remember that the sort of like study area wasn't particularly fancy or adorned or decorated. And this does seem to be kind of like there's a massive amount of gold here, but for a dragon, it's probably not like as much as you would expect. You think it's a good and it's a decent amount, especially if the 2 chests that you haven't opened are perhaps full of like gold and gems and platinum and things like that. But it seems like, given how long Neuron Vein had lived, and the fact that they had like acolytes and followers and such things, like, it's reasonable to assume that there's another hoard somewhere else, or a main hoard somewhere else, or that he was perhaps moving and is still in like the process of getting everything over, or something along those lines. It is a great amount of wealth, but there could probably be more.
So Taslin will like reach into his bag and like pull out one of the potions of greater healing and like hand it to Wampum, and he'll go, "I advise we pick what we want before the orcs get here."
Aye, I agree.
I really think that that round orb, I think it's screaming my name.
Yeah, that's got to be some mage stuff, so I would think so.
All right. I don't necessarily like that carpet thing that's rolled up. I'm fairly certain it may be a trap, and I'll use the Wand of Secrets as I approach it.
You fire off the Wand of Secrets for an additional time, and it points back at the door.
Oh, sweet. Tasman was just gonna I guess I'll ritual a cat. No, I'm not gonna do that. I can burn a level 1 slot.
Ritual casting takes 10 minutes.
yeah. I'm not gonna wait for these orcs. I'm just going to take 1 minute, and I'm gonna cast Identify on the orb. And depending on how that goes, and how long it takes the orc and everyone else to join them, he's gonna start identifying all the novelty items.
Are there any weapons or armor in here?
You don't see any armor or weapons at a glance. There was a sword in the other room. As you were standing next to it, it looked like a long sword. Didn't have any fancy hilt. There were no runes on it. It looked like a functional weapon. You could go look at it if you'd like to. Based on your perception checks, Lefkadio and Nas, you didn't necessarily hear the Scout of Flame or anything going on. You were having an engaged conversation with an orc chieftain or clan leader of some kind. Not necessarily tenuous, but definitely wanting to keep the peace and all of that. So you're very focused on what you were doing. Now Kale has started to ascend the steps, and the leader of this orc clan does notice that. They don't take a step necessarily yet. What are you two doing after he's kind of made this like, listen, I'm not gonna like raise an army and murder everyone, probably. It's okay.
So I will begin stepping in that direction, but then I will look back, and I will say, I have learned that everyone has a role to play, and it is the wise that find a place for everyone. That one hero can be strong, but the community is stronger still, that accepts and puts everyone to use in a way that best suits their talents and abilities. Would you agree?
Yes, I would say so. Everyone has different skills even in battle, but also in downtimes. And it would not benefit everyone to put them at something that they were not skilled in.
I am happy to know you, friend, and I will drop my human visage and appear lion-like, and I will say, my name's Lafcadio Whitehorn, and I'll hold my hand out for a shake.
There's like an eyebrow raise for a moment, and you can tell that it's not like you don't even need to make an insight check to tell that there's like a slight bit of annoyance at like obviously having been deceived. And after this is a tenuous moment where he looks very disapproving. He reaches out and kind of briefly clasps your wrist and crosses his arms again.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, friend.
Grobanash. Which I now need to write down.
Nice on the fly there.
Thank you.
Well met.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'm not that guy anymore. Well met, Grobanash. Let's find out what this fellow is hiding.
You alter your form at will.
It is a gift that I've been blessed with from the Lion King, Lord Firemane. He's the one who has blessed me with these teachings, that all of us can work together for the betterment of all. Since you're of a like mind, I reckon that there's no need for me to appear as something more familiar to you.
Although I dislike deception, I understand. Let us go. And he nods towards the stairs.
I don't know. For the most part, I can understand Lafcadio, but I don't know what is going on completely, like how diffused the situation is. So I'm gonna pull out some of the whiskey and I'm gonna offer it to the orc chief and be like, eh.
What kind of whiskey is it?
I think that all I have as far as whiskey goes is the Firebrand, but I have 2 bottles of it, and we haven't even completely finished 1 bottle.
Yeah, okay, and that's good stuff too. So, so it's like a bottle, and it's got a heavy cork on the top. So you like uncork it and just hand it to him straight with the bottle. Okay. Yeah. He reaches over and he takes it, and the hand is huge. You're a strong and like meaty individual yourself, and he just kind of palms this bottle, and he takes a huge gulp of it. Not like an impolitely huge, but like
he's a big dude.
Yeah,
he probably needs a lot
whiskey.
in order to feel anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Good. In common.
Actually, I'll drink a little bit too, and then I'll put it back.
His arms kind of like fall to his sides in like a slightly relaxed sort of posture, and he looks like he's waiting for you to go first. He has like made a step towards the stairs as he has recognized that one of your party has gone up there, and this seems to be the natural progression of things. But he looks like he's waiting for you to go first.
Okay, we do a little awkward. No, you. Okay, I'll go.
and he'll follow you up the stairs. So you're casting the spell, Towson. It takes a minute to cast.
Yeah.
Wampum is going to start looking around the room for like any type of possible dwarven work or like a false wall or...
You know that there's not going to be a false wall because Towson's been using the wand that points those things out. But go ahead and make an investigation check for me, and you can start looking through all these closed crates and see if you find anything that is like useful or interesting to you.
That would be I don't have any bonus for investigation. That would be a straight roll of a 15.
That's good though. So you just start. I mean, you're a strong individual. These crates look like they're nailed closed, but that's more for like shipments. You just grab the edge and yank it open and peer inside. One has like full of looks like bundles of food. You can smell like salted meats and things like that as you're opening them. A few of the barrels are filled with water. One's filled with wine. Smells nice. Not as strong as the Thunderbelly Ale, but it smells like a fine wine. Maybe something to point out, but not necessarily your style, perhaps. And you do find under the crate that the sword was laying across, when you open that up, you do see that there are various arms and armaments in there. Some of them look a little fancier than the others. It's difficult to tell whether that's decoration or there's like a functionality to it. And there is one battle axe it appears to be dwarven make based on the style of it and the sort of like carvings on the... It's not is it the haft that is the part after the handle and before the blade? The haft. There's like carvings on that are reminiscent of dwarven culture, and you do spot the sign of an anvil on it, which you, as a devout follower of Morden, does remind you definitely of that. And other than being very well made and like seemingly ornate, this probably belonged to somebody who was either moneyed or was honored in whatever like culture they existed in. It doesn't seem to be particularly special, but it's a beautiful weapon, well made.
I'll go ahead and pick that up and carry it with me.
Okay, so you have retrieved this battle axe. Tazin, you just finish casting Identify on this spell, and you learn that it is a crystal ball and that it is an arcane focus for people who use arcane focus. It doesn't have any other special properties than that, but you just know by looking at it and the size of it and the like crystal clear purity of this that it is an expensive item, like a treasure that somebody would have and be proud of. And you're able to finish casting that spell kind of with your back to the door as Kale, and shortly followed by Nas. And Kale was like kind of reading the book, so that's why he didn't get too far ahead of everyone else. But Kale and Nas and Gorbanosh and Lefkadio are able to file in, unless one of you stops to peruse the first room with the shelves and the books. No? Okay. So you are all now together in the same room. The leader is kind of looking. He sees the supplies and he sees the door to the other room and perhaps the like slight now that Kayla's in the room and the drift globe is in there and light is being emitted, I assume he would have dismissed the sunlight spell out there probably. So there's like that sort of like gleam on the wall, like disco ballish almost, where like light that's like creeping around a corner reflects off something shiny, and he like notices that. Doesn't say anything just yet.
So once Tazlin finishes it, before they like get in the room, Tazlin's just gonna throw the orb like in his bag.
Okay. Do you have a bag of holding, or is it just like a regular like?
No, it's just his travel bag.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you have just like enough time to like discern this and slip it in there as you're hearing footsteps, and you turn around. Who's the first person in? First person was Kale,
probably. Yeah.
And then followed by Nas. So Nas, go ahead and make a perception check for me. And I'm assuming you're trying to be like kind of sly about it, Tazlin. So go ahead and make a sleight of hand check.
Well, I mean, I don't think Tazlin is necessarily trying to hide it. Tazlin is just like how Wampum like grabbed the axe. Tazlin is just plopping it in.
This is mine. Okay. All right. So then just a perception check. I don't see it yet, but that's okay. There it goes. Oh no, that was Nas.
Yeah.
Because Nas was the first person around the room. Did I miss it?
Kale.
Yeah, but we're not rolling
Right, yeah.
for Kale because he's not here. You see Taslin standing in the other room, and you kind of see him like shift a little bit. It's not necessarily clear what's going on. And now you're all in the same room.
I burned my hand.
He's got like blackened soot, kind of like marks on the front of him. He doesn't look overly hurt by it, but like charred a little bit.
Sorry for your loss of hand.
It'll be fine with time. It's just one of those sacrifices I have to make for the good of the team.
Yeah, it was one of those Taslin blunders.
Oh, yes, because you would have found this hidden door all on your own.
Of course, you know how magical we are.
Yes, of course. How could I forget the numerous times you've teleported me to other planes of existence?
And don't you forget it.
All 0 times.
My friends, this is Gorbanosh. He's the one who brought us his mighty warriors who laid waste to the Shadakai outside. Gorbanosh, these are my other friends, other champions in their own right.
Wampum looks at him like very untrustingly, but not angrily, not confrontational.
Okay.
I think Taslin pays him almost no mind. Kind of like, not in a hostile way, but like this person doesn't matter to me at all, and their existence is barely noticeable.
Well, tell us what you really think.
How dare you not be attached to this NPC already? No. Yeah. And Lafcadio, were you making introductions, or did you kind of? I think you started to say somebody's name and I missed it, or were you just like, these are the champions?
I was going to introduce everyone,
Okay.
So and I'll say, I'll translate. Well, my friend Taslin was saying is that he was able to detect a trap earlier. Is that I feel like that's what he was trying to communicate. So I think we have the freedom to move about these rooms without danger of any more traps. Is that right, Taslin?
I can't promise that, but one could assume that you can go about this room with no risk of further danger.
I translate for Gorbanosh.
Mm-hmm.
And I did make all the introductions. These are all the peoples.
Right. He puts a hand up, clasps it over his shoulder, kind of nods to the ones he hasn't met in turn, and kind of proceeds to walk through, not aggressively, just like shoving anyone around out of the way or anything, but he just kind of like makes his way into the other room to survey the situation. And the other room is big enough. It's like similarly sized to the supply room, maybe slightly not as long, but since this is like a non-combat situation, you're all easily able to kind of like file in there, and there's like elbow room. You don't have your own like 5-foot square or anything, but you can comfortably stand in the room and exist and have a conversation.
Wampum pulls up a chest that that he opened up and all that. He's going to sit on it, pull out his crystal mug and fill it with some of his Thunderbelly ale and start to enjoy. And then he's going to look at Lafcadio. This can't be all of it. What do you think?
Oh, you think there's more of this?
No. Sorry, I don't think Taslin would. I think Taslin's casting Identify on that rug thing.
When you already cast it, do you have to cast it again on each item, or is it like an effect on you?
I think you have to touch each item. So my goal was to cast it in a minute, and move on.
Gotcha.
But
So you go over to touch this like kind of like bundled up piece of fabric, and you realize it's not in fact a rug. And if you are you like picking it up, or are you leaving it folded?
Does it look like it's a painting or something like that?
It looks like it's cloth, like some kind of clothing that's
okay,
been kind of like
yeah.
folded up.
Yeah, Taslin will open it up and then.
Okay,
Take a
you
look
open
at
up and you see what looks like robes of some kind, either ceremonial or perhaps like magic belonging to a caster.
What color are they? Are they black? Are they gray?
How do I say this without giving? Hold on one second.
Because I've got a whole motif going on.
What's your color scheme?
Black. Well, black, whites, maybe reds.
Typical necromancer.
Yeah. Anything that says I'm a cheerful individual and you can trust me.
So when you first pick it up and you hold it up, it does appear to kind of have a benign sort of color to it, almost like gray charcoalish. But as you like unfurl it and start looking at it and it moves around, these colors start to kind of dance on the outside, and like the grayish undertone is completely hidden as this like crystally rainbow effect kind of moves with the movement of the fabric.
Okay. Tazan will like throw it over his shoulders, like walk to the side so like the orc and everyone can like inspect everything. And he'll just
Okay.
move to the side and cast Identify on it.
Okay. Just for the sake of giving you the item properties, when you finish casting that after a minute, you find that it's a robe of scintillating colors.
Ooh.
And that's on page 194 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. If you'd like to look those up, I could give them to you right now, or I'll give them to
I've
you.
got it already pulled up.
Okay, figured. So everybody else, you are free to do as you wish. It doesn't look like Grobanash is like interacting necessarily. He's like assessing the situation and just kind of like taking in what there is and waiting to see how you all proceed.
I feel like since behind us there's an entire room full of books, that our cleric might actually be hanging out there, poring over in every little nook and cranny and inspecting anything and investigating for illusions and the usual MO.
Yeah, that
That's-
sounds like the perfect Kale move.
For sure, yeah. I mean, he had stopped there. The reason why he didn't enter the room before the rest of you is because he kind of like stopped short and was taking a look around. And then when it seemed like you're all proceeding, he took a look at that. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, you. Yeah. And he
They have 24
leads to go out
volumes, but 2 of them are missing.
No! I've ordered that twice at the store. They never get it. No. Yeah, so there's a large pile here. If you take the time to count it all together, within each chest and within what's kind of like scattered around on the ground, there's 18,000 gold pieces and 1,500 platinum. There are 2. Are any of you like connoisseurs of? Well, you have wampum with you. There are 2 alexandrite, worth roughly 500 gold pieces. 3 aquamarine. I can copy this into the group chat later, so you don't have to write it down. Also worth 500 gold pieces. 3 blue spinel, same cost. 3 peridot, same value. 1 topaz, same value. There's the robe that Talzin is dealing with right now. And there is a book there. It is plated in electrum. You can tell like the currency. And if you open it up, it's blank. It doesn't seem to have, it doesn't seem to be like a spell book or anything, but it's just like a really ornate, fancy, rich looking, like the equivalent of leather bound, but bound in electrum. Like a really nice kind of like blank journal sort of book. And that's what is here.
Taslin, take a minute on that book.
Of course. I would be so delighted to do this. Tazin will take the book, and he'll go back to his corner,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll kind of kick some coins over to where he's sitting, and he'll be like, all I'm good for is casting spells. Tazin, what's this do? Tazin, what's that do? And he gets to his corner and he like looks at everyone and like sees if they're looking at him, and like he'll take like a good 15 seconds to pretend he's spell casting to see what they're going after and like looking at, and then he'll start casting on it.
Okay. So you take an additional minute while everybody else is finishing counting out gold and discussing with
Please,
Gobinash.
please put my share in right next to me. Just pile it up. It'll be cool.
Or just pushing it around his feet.
Yeah, just
And you cast a
wrap it in
spell
the
and just surrounded in a pile of gold, like Scrooge McDuck style. You could swim in it.
Taslin's real goal is just get true polymorph and become a dragon, and he's just gonna be like, yes.
But the book is not magical. It's just a book. It's just a really nice looking book. It looks like the sort of book somebody who is a wizard and has a spell book might like because it looks really nice, but it's currently blank.
Okay. And it was coded in Electrum?
Coded in Electrum, yeah.
Oh, part of me wants Taslin to flim-flam the orcs, but never mind. Taslin will just hold onto it and go, and motion for Wampum to come over.
Yeah.
And he'll lower his voice real low. I'm just going to do. So it's not magical, but that doesn't mean that the orcs don't know things.
I agree.
And I'm not sure. Well, I would know how much it's worth in Electrum by casting Identify, wouldn't I? Like with the code.
I think you do get information like that. It probably took, which Electrum is worth 5 gold, so it probably took at least like 100 Electrum or so, just to, like in size, to kind of like melt that down and create this cover or beat it into it, whatever they did to create this. It's got like beautiful like inlaid designs in it that have like thorned vines and stuff twisting around. So it's it looks like there is some sort of like molding or casting. So it's probably worth about 500-ish as well. Just like the cost of making this sort of like fine exterior to the book. And there's like a clasp that closes it. That's also really sturdy and made from probably like an Electrum alloy.
Okay, and it's like flowery.
Not flowery, like thorned vines, like
Okay.
you know, in Sleeping Beauty, the like Maleficent's castle is surrounded by the like terrible thicket of thorny vines, like that.
Okay. Yes. So it's probably about. It took about 100 Electrum to just get the casting, plus the inlay. I don't necessarily want to carry around that many coins.
No,
But-
it looks like the Book of Chieftains to me.
Oh, yes, passed down magically to choose the rightful tribe chieftain.
Aye.
I think this is something they would be more than happy to take. And he'll go, Lafcadio, a moment.
I'll put my finger up to Gobinash.
Now-
Right back.
I've just finished identifying this, and based on the wall markings downstairs, I can only infer that this is the Book of Chieftains, magically passed down among the tribes in this area.
Oh, that's neat. I'm sure Gobinash would love that.
Oh, of course, and it is very expensive.
All right,
Look
well,
at the Electrum inlay.
do you want it?
I think, in goodwill, it's something they should have the option of choosing for themselves.
All right. Well,
I should probably roll a deception check, though.
Yeah, I mean, unless Lafcadio is just like, this is my friend, why would he lie to me?
yeah, I have no reason to suspect he's lying.
Yeah.
That's true, but Taz is
Actually-
also a really bad liar.
Go ahead and roll, just because up until this point, your orc friend didn't seem to be listening to, no ear twitch, nothing engaging in your conversation with Wampum, but after he heard his name, his head kind of turned.
Okay. Let me roll that deception. Once I find it. It's going to be bad.
Oh,
That 20! Yes!
oh my god, I love it. So he kind of like looks over and he's watching, and there's like vague understanding, you know, the kind of like cloudy look that somebody gets when they're watching somebody speak in another language, and you're like, okay, I heard that word. Okay, I heard that word. And he just like watches you for a moment and looks at the conversation that you're all having, and he hears what you're saying, Lefcadio, of course, but This kind of like goes back to like accounting or whatever that you and Nos are doing. What are you doing, Nos, while this is going on?
As a devout follower of Timora, I feel like out of all of us, it is my sacred duty to make sure that he walks out with no more and no less than 1/3 of all the things that he was promised. However, when he does look up and kind of get that frown on his face for a second, I'm gonna ask him what's wrong.
Spoke my name. Like he can tell something is going on over there and it's about him, but he doesn't really know like necessarily what's happening.
Stand up, turn around. What was that about?
Oh, well, you see, I've found the Book of Chieftains, magically passed down among the orc tribes of this area. Passed down for generations until I can only assume Neron Vane, or the humans that they were at war with, took it from its rightful place. It is very expensive, very magical, and worth quite a lot. Sorry, that wink was to Wampum, he's like hiding it. And I was simply telling Lafcadio, as I don't speak their primitive language, that it would be only fair to give them the option of taking this book. I've already cast Identify on it too.
Yeah, may I make an insight check?
Yeah,
in case I also get a 20.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I feel like there are maybe like some things about that don't add up, but if you cast Identify, then
And it is
what
coded
it
in
is.
Electrum. I'll even let you lick it if you want it, but I mean that would probably be disrespectful.
I can tell at a glance that is in fact Electrum. Do not patronize me.
So you know that I'm not trying to cheat them like I would perhaps someone I didn't like.
No, it's not, because it's weird because, it has been said to me time and time again that, I guess the best way to put it is that it's not likely that you would find a particularly studious person like a wizard in an orc tribe that is living all the way out here with the population that it is in. So it's weird that they have a fancy book of all things. You'd think that they would have like a battle axe where they like put notches in it or something.
Oh, yes, definitely. But I mean, I don't know the details of this item. All I know is that it's a magical book that communicates with the ancestors, if one is worthy.
Okay, all right. Well, he knows that you said his name.
Yeah,
so...
I hand the book to Lafcadio. I mean, he knows you better, and quite frankly, I don't want to be close enough to smell him.
I take the book. And so I walk eagerly over to Grobanash. I say, mate, Taslin, using his fantastical powers of divination, has discerned that this power, this book, has been passed down through generations of orcs. It's some way of communing with your ancestors. He insists that you have it.
Looking at my roll. We have no stories of passed down books. Possible that it is lost to history and legend, but unlikely as our orators keep the history of our people. It does look of fine make. I can think of one who might want it. Perhaps they will be able to discern some sort of historic importance, but this is unfamiliar to me.
All right, well, yeah. I can't imagine anyone else would be better fit to have it than you and your people. So
He like reaches out and takes it. starts kind of like flipping through it. Looks like, okay, this is nice, but it's not like particularly impressed by it. So I assume, like, without further ado, you probably just like split the rest of the treasure hoard after counting it and stuff. Like, unless Haslin wants to try to pull the wool over anyone else's eyes.
I am injured. I gave them something for free.
Oh, does that not count as part of his share? Okay.
Well, I
we'll
mean,
keep
maybe.
that in mind
I don't know
when you-
what Lafcadio said to him. I wasn't paying attention.
That's fair.
Taslin's probably just walking out of the room going, like, mumbling to himself, like, Forks is so stupid. Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Taz will walk out of the room. He trusts everyone else to divvy up the gold. That above the cavern where they fought, he wants to go up there, so he's going to dimension door all the way up into that, like, where it plateaued. Or there was a ledge.
Yeah.
So he's going to teleport the 500 feet up, or how many feet? Right
You
up
talking
there.
about the one to like the outside with the little like nose holey type things, or
Yeah, maybe.
where you were when you were on the carpet and you looked at the day before?
Yeah.
Okay,
so-
I was like, I don't remember a ledge. Oh yeah.
so
Yeah,
he's
okay.
going. And he'll tell Kale where he's going. He'll be like, by the way, Kale, I'm going up there. You know how to send me if you need me or whatever. And off he goes.
Yeah, okay. And there's like a strong wind up here, but you don't have to like hold on for dear life. But as you're up there, your clothes are kind of like billowing around you. And do you have like a hood or anything? Like it would blow
yeah, I
off.
think so. Yeah. Tessa's like,
No, not my hair.
I guess if I face away from the wind, it'll work.
Yeah, and I think that's a good time for us to go to break, divvying up the treasure. So we will go to break. We'll be back in a second. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging out while we were on break so we could get up and get water and stretch. Do you want to do, I always forget, do we do quick introductions when we come back from break? Nope, we're just going to jump right back in. So, you have counted out the gold and the platinum. You have divvied it up. And so take a third away from that. And how are you going to help them transport it? Or are you just going to like put a pile of gold in the corner and be like, see ya, here you go.
Well, I mean, he's got orc buddies. They can
Yeah.
feasibly carry it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not saying one is better or worse decision. Just what are you doing with it? Are you giving them the?
We can take out our share and put it in our various bags of holding, and then recombobulate that later whenever we find a bank.
Yeah.
And then they can use the chests that everything came in.
Wampum, you were saying that you think there's more of this?
This is too small for Nerve Vein.
Grubanosh, my friend Wampum says that he speculates that there's even more, but we just don't know where it is.
He had not been here long. Several weeks. He was new to this region. Perhaps it is elsewhere.
Wampum, Grubanosh says that Neron Vane hasn't been here very long. Maybe if this isn't all of his keepings, his holdings. If this isn't all of his holdings, perhaps the rest of his wealth is stored somewhere else, perhaps in another castle.
That would make sense if he's only been here for just a few weeks.
All right, well then I guess we're not gonna tally here any longer. Is that right?
I'm ready to go.
Robanosh, do you have anything else you need from us? We're gonna be heading off. That's great to have met you, and I wish you and your tribe the best of luck.
Thank you. We can carry this ourselves.
All right then. Mates, do we want to use the? Where are we going? Are we going to head back to Waterdeep, or are we going to head somewhere else?
Am I still up in the
Yeah, have you come back yet?
Well, you see, Tazin kind of ran out of slots for Dimension Door after he got up there. So, depending on how long it takes him to divvy everything up, he might have enough time for a short rest for Arcane Recovery to get some slots back, but I think he's just going to chill up there for a while instead of using the Sending Stone and say, hey, bring the rug around.
Well, bring the car around. These were potential entrances. You do see, since you kind of like bamfed up to the exit, like where the sky opens up, you could potentially walk down. You don't know what you might find, along the way. So you could either journey back yourself, or I think counting out, 6,000 gold and 500 platinum probably takes a little bit of time. I think that probably would take enough for a short rest if you would like to Arcane Recovery, or you can walk back.
Yeah, I think Tazlin, actual physical effort? Sitting and waiting. He'll sit and wait, and then he'll just teleport back down.
That makes sense. So, do you head back down to like the main room, or into the room with Kale, or into the room with the money?
Into the room with the dead body.
Okay.
And,
so you...
Yeah, and he'll go into the horn while everyone's doing their own thing, and with his knife he's gonna carve, haha, Tazlin was here on the horn that's like left on the body. He's gonna write it in Elvish.
Oh my god. Okay, so it's a beautiful script, funny message. Yeah. I love it. Kayla's been sitting in the other room, kind of like leafing through the books, or maybe not necessarily sitting, but kind of like messing around in there. So, when you turn and say, where are we going, Lafcadio, it's to Nas and Wampum. Unless you guys go into the other room and include Kale.
I'm fine. Asking Nas and Wampum. Yeah.
What's the next mission?
Timora said we needed to go to places where we knew Divinity was and attempt to contact our respective lords. You want to go see your ma'am?
I'd like to go home, yes.
Mirabar would be a good start. After that, let's see, we've got just Grave Peak Mountains and Westgate. And then to the Fortress of Memories after that, I think.
We have from the Hopper Network, we have the teleportation sigil from Mirabar. So we could go right now if Tazlin has that spell prepared where he can teleport with the circle or use his amulet. Otherwise, we could head back to Waterdeep and either rest or prevail upon the Hoppers there to see if we could use their ring there to get to Mirabar. Do you guys have a preference?
You know how I don't like any of them, but the quickest one be the best way, I think.
The quickest one, I think, it was the amulet, isn't it?
Well, let's find Tazlin and find out.
Kale pokes his head in around like the corner from the other room and says, we taking the rugs back?
I mean, I don't want to.
Okay.
Okay.
I forgot that we rented them.
Well, you didn't. There was talk of perhaps renting, and the person was like, it. "Yeah, bring it back in one piece, and we'll see," kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Now these things are very useful.
That's fair. So Gorbanash goes outside. You guys have kind of like packed everything up in the chest, and he's like gathering his warriors, and they all kind of like come in as like a group to go in and take the bounty, the spoils of war, and leave. And so you guys are all heading out to Tazlin. You all are heading out to Tazlin to see if the amulet is available. Curving into the horn. Okay. Yeah. So when you guys when you all head out, like Kale will kind of like get up and join you. He mentions like these are books, but there's no information that nothing new for me to learn here, and doesn't seem to like be interested in anything else that's in that room. And proceeds downstairs, and you all find Tazlin carving or like scraping something into the remaining horn on Neurovane's head.
Taslim, mate, we're gonna. I think we want to head to Mirabar, and we know the teleportation circle for that from our Hopper friends. Would the fastest way to be there would that be using a spell, or using your amulet? What would be the best way?
Well, I don't have that spell prepared today. So I'm assuming your next question is going to be, Taslin, can we use the amulet to go there? Which we could, but first I'd like you to all get here and let me cast water breathing on you. And then we can go. Alternatively, now hear me out. I believe that Neuron Vane's main hoard is somewhere in the Shadowfell.
That seems like a good guess. Like if we had to figure out some other place that wasn't here, that seems likely. Sure.
Why is the concept stuck on multiple people that this was not it? That was a lot of platinum.
It's
like,
a dragon.
It was a lot. Yeah, and it was a lot of platinum. This could buy a castle.
Which I think it's about time that we deserve one.
No, I'm just saying, I don't think that he's got anything laying around. I think that this is it.
I don't know. That's an old dragon. Lost.
On top of that, we know he hadn't been living here for long.
That's an old dragon. Hoards that small for an ancient dragon like that just don't make no sense to me.
And we're not making fun of him for having a small hoard. But
that's pretty funny. Good one, first off.
Thanks. That's been done. I'll be leaving the stream. Goodbye, guys. It's been great.
Yeah. Second, I don't know nothing about shadow dragons, but they ain't normal dragons, and I wonder if maybe he did like a transmuted thing like I did when I died, in which case all of my crap went with me. It's possible all of his crap went with him too, if that is the way that these things happen.
He simply spent a significant amount of time in the Shadowfell and slowly was corrupted, I suppose is a solid word to use. But I believe that he had not been here long, and as such he had a base of operations away from here where he may have kept more valuable items, or perhaps his way of communing with you-know-who. There is very little doubt in my mind that he had another base of operations.
Okay, well, even so, I will admit, despite the fact that I would love to acquire more finances, I feel like if we were to slip into the Shadowfell before the time is right, we would be potentially putting the entire universe at risk.
I agree. I'm kind of tired of the Shadowfell thing.
So Plane of Water it is. I think we're all in agreement that we don't want to go to the Shadowfell.
Yay.
True, but with you using the amulet, there's no telling.
That is 100% accurate.
But before we leave, Wampum wants to make one more tour around this lower level where the dragon is.
Taslin will show him the carvings that were in the wall. He'll show like everybody because he doesn't speak yet. He doesn't know what it says.
Okay. Yeah, he takes you over to the wall, and you see what seems to be like a series of like record keeping or stories or something that appear to be like hunts of some kind or historic events. There are icons that are easily recognizable, like humanoid shapes and shapes of like big animals and such things. And there's like writing accompanies it. What languages do you speak, Wampum?
Dwarvish and Undercommon.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't make any additional sense to you. Are you taking everyone over there, or was it just Wampum as he's making his rounds?
I mean, anyone that's willing to come. Tasman would just be like, I did find this.
It seems like the sort of thing Kale would go look at. And thank you. Yeah, so he follows you over and he's looking at it. It's chronology. Stories of histories. We talked earlier about a little of them. Orc tribes, the wars. Perhaps one of them made this their fortress at some point. Just seems to be a history of events. Big hunts, big battles.
That sounds absolutely riveting.
Don't look so excited, Tesla.
Well, I'll start ritual casting water breathing.
Okay. Does everyone have to be near you to do that? Because Wampum's going to go and take a look around. I think it's like 30 feet or something like that.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's 30 feet the entire time or 30 feet at the point of finish.
We'll say that you work it out to where you make sure to catch Wampum in it at some point. So Wampum, you can go and walk around. What are you looking for as you're walking around and kind of surveying the rest of this area?
Abnormal rock work, abnormal rock formations.
Okay. Yeah, and I know you get advantage on checks involving stonework. So you're wanting like a nature check then for the rocks to see if the rocks have been tainted, or which one are you thinking that you're wanting to make? Investigation, like nature, history. Which is more the avenue that Wampum is like thinking as he's traversing and looking around at these rocks to discern this, like what changes might have occurred.
I was thinking maybe either mason tools or maybe insight.
Okay, yeah, those sound good then. Mason tools are, yeah, one of these days I'll remember all the stuff in your character sheets, maybe. That's why I ask questions. I'm like, tell me what you want to do.
A 13 plus 10, 23.
Nice. So as you're walking around and you're surveying the area, you can tell the difference between the places here that were worn away by natural erosion. Many of these sort of like pillory sort of structures, the large opening acts as like a wind tunnel, and like debris, like air debris that like wears down mountains is like filtered through, and you can see a couple of like pathways that, just judging from where you were yesterday when you guys found those sort of like exit points, the kind of smaller ones, probably eventually lead up into those through like this erosion path. But you can also tell where some of them had like been purposefully changed in shape, a little bit more angular in places. It's difficult to tell what somebody might have wanted to build in here, but you can tell where some of it was worn away on purpose, making perhaps hallways or backing, like creating like a backing for a building or something like that. You can also see that like on the far side to the left of where you came in, something that was there potentially, and then there was some kind of like a collapse where it looks like the side of this used to be larger and extend further out into something, and either it collapsed or it broke or it was exploded, or who knows what it was that happened exactly. But there's like fallen rubble rock and while the mountain side didn't necessarily collapse, it probably was wider or deeper, or maybe this was like a tunnel that led somewhere else or something like that. And there are, amongst the rubble there are cut stones that, although old, appear to have either been like bricks, or if they were carving things directly from the stone to make structures, like were actually just like cut into the rock of this place. With that check, other than that, and like noticing and gathering kind of like in general that there was a history to this place and that people probably used to live here, you can just kind of almost get the sense of like the shadow that has sort of like not infested, but has like imbued the rock with this general like darkness and like a connection to another place, but not like a tangible connection where you can like feel a link to anything. But you just like, you know, stone, and this feels like darkened. It has like a weight to it, and maybe that's partially history and partially the presence of Neuron Vein emitting this sort of like darkness that's like embroiled the place, but it's just kind of got like a heavy feeling to it.
All right, then I'll walk on back, and this place is dark. I'm ready to go home.
Tazlin finishes casting water breathing on everyone. Okay, DM question. I know that Eugenio had some kind of a table to roll on when Tazlin doesn't make his check for this amulet. I don't have that. It was like a standard thing that comes with the item?
No, it's just... okay, I'll read you the entire description. While wearing the amulet, I can use an action to name a location that I'm familiar with on another plane of existence. I make a DC 15 intelligence check. On a successful check, I cast the plane shift spell. On a failure, me and every creature and object within 15 feet of me travel to a random destination. On a D100, on a 1 through 60, I travel to a random location on the plane I named. On a 61 through 100, the DM determines the plane, or randomly determines the plane of existence.
Okay, so maybe he didn't have a table. He just was making it up on the fly. All right. So, you know that the next step, you all know that the next step for Tazlin right now is to engage the amulet. Is there anything anyone would like to do here or otherwise before this happens?
I use my Rod of the Pact Keeper and Pearl of Power to recharge some spells.
Okay.
Yep.
And you have had the time to take a short rest if anyone wants to like roll hit die. Oh, and Wampum, are you still pretty beat up?
92 out of 199.
Kale will come over and do a fourth. Does he have spell slots or fourth level? We'll do a third level of Cure Wounds. I'll just mark off that spell slot. And his wisdom is a 5. Okay, so you get 23 points of healing from Kale too. He kind of like takes a look at you and is like, here, like, pats you on the back.
It's not that I want to do anything, but I wanted to offer, if you didn't want to come up with, if you wanted to make your own roll table like that, essentially, I believe that there are 16 outer planes, 4 inner planes, and 4 transient planes.
All right, let me write that down really quick.
So 24 planes total. So you could roll a D24 using Roll20.
That's true. Okay, so there's what you said: 16 inner planes, 4 outer planes, and what? 16 outer planes.
16 outer planes, 4 inner planes, and then 4 transient planes. That's astral, ethereal, Shadowfell, and Feywild.
Okay.
So that's not including the material plane that we're on.
Gotcha.
It wouldn't, would you?
Yeah, exactly. All right. We'll see. We'll see where the chips lie.
All right. As with every time we do this, Tazlin Teleportation Incorporation is not liable for any injuries, any mishaps, any lost dwarves, or otherwise, and is not due to criticisms based on where we go.
If I am lost, Aslan,
Then
I will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Then I'm exceptionally glad that your sending stone only goes to Kale. Well, without further ado, let's.
Kale would cast guidance.
Yes, please,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
yes.
And at the very end, I would be like, wait, where's Iskar?
Iskar, Iskar flies and lands on my shoulder before we go.
I
As much-
assume that at this juncture you gather your stuff with you and you're not
Yeah.
just gonna like, oopsie, left my familiar behind. Yeah.
That wasn't a real thing. I was just trying to make a funny one-liner, and it fell flat.
Oh no, I thought it was funny too.
It would have been a very good spin-off series where it's like, what was that? The Great Journey with the dog and the cat and the bat? It's like a story of 3 familiars who lost their wizards due to interplanar travel,
Oh my
trying to
god.
find their way home.
I think
I
I,
was
saw
thinking
that nice
Homeward
camera.
Bound.
All right, let's roll this 1d20
Yeah.
plus 5.
Yeah.
Plus 1d4.
And plus 1d4.
If I choose, right?
If you choose,
Or
yeah.
not?
Yeah, you don't have to.
19. Not going to use it this time.
Okay, so you get where you're going, and you wanted to go to
the. Oh man, let's go to the. What was that place?
City of 10,000
Taslin should know.
Pearls.
Yes, Taslin should know that. It goes there all the time. So poof, right in the middle of the street where Taslin poofed us like 9 or 10 times once in rapid succession because he kept screwing up.
And this is in the plane of water, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you made the first step correct, and now you have to do it again to get to where you want to go because you can't go on the same plane.
Right.
Got it. All right.
So Taslin shows up and he's like, oh, well, it's still standing. This is good. And then he goes again. And a 21!
Hey, I'm so glad because I'm going to make this table later on. I don't want to have to do it right now. So, and your
Jokes on everyone else. I'm going to unattune to this thing soon.
and your goal ultimately was to go to Mirabar.
Mirabar. Yeah.
Mirabar. Okay.
So he'll like teleport right outside of Mirabar, like right outside the main gates.
Okay. So yeah, successfully. Yeah, because that one plane shift doesn't need the teleportation circle. That's right. So yeah, you appear in the plane of water in the familiar setting that you always have before. Why don't you go ahead just really quickly for anyone who's joining us that hasn't seen this before? Quick, like 30-second. Where are you in the plane of water and why? Before you get to Mirabar.
So we're in the city of 1,000 Pearls. We saved their city once when we were smashing crystals that were siphoning the energy of the planes. It has air, and it's like a domed giant shell thing, from what I remember, like 25 episodes ago. And they are pretty safe, so going there is usually Taslin's go-to. Because then if he screws up and he doesn't go in the place that has oxygen, they all have water breathing, so they'll just show up somewhere in the water.
I imagine that must be something that happened at some point and is like an ongoing drama. Okay.
But Taslin was super paranoid.
That's
So
fair.
he'll drown.
Okay, so you appear at the gates of Mirabar. Why don't you, Wampum, why don't you tell us what we see when we appear at the gates of Mirabar?
It is very thick wooden gates, parapets on both sides. There's about 6 guards out front that are searching all activity coming in. There's a smell of wood burning. You can hear in the far distance tinking of hammers at the forge. There's a lot of activities in the streets. Everybody seems very pleasant. But as dwarves are, they're not overly trusting. So any new activity is looked at as possible danger. But when we show up, a lot of the guards are family. So we will be greeted with hugs. The announcement will go around that Walpum is home with his kin.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you appear at the thick, sturdy wooden doors of Mirabar, and you see familiar faces who are happy to see you all, and they greet you all with hugs and handshakes and what have you, depending upon your preference. I'm not sure that Tazlin wants to hug everyone, but yeah, they being as familiar with you as they are, it's like coming home, seeing your friends again. How long has it been since you've been here, Wampum?
About 6 months.
So they're particularly excited to see that you're back. You're in one piece. Tell us about your journey. What glorious battles have you fought? What trophies have you earned? What stories do you have to tell? What has been happening in your life, Wampum?
That'll be tonight at the tavern. We'll fill everybody in, and we'll sing some songs.
We will drink warriors' drinks and sing warrior songs. Aye, we will send word as well that you're home. Who would they send word to typically first?
Mom.
To Mom, okay. And then just kind of in general, town would be like, the son of Mirabar is home. Yeah. Perfect. I love it. Yeah, so greeted warmly. They're enthusiastic, but obviously you have places to go. So what inn do you typically, what inn do you plan to see them at later? A bar, in whatever, tavern?
It would be the Iron Forge, I believe it is.
Iron Forge. Okay. Making notes. Perfect. So where do you all head first now that you're here in the city where you're heading?
Wampum will tell everybody to you know your way around. And Wampum's gonna go see his mother.
Okay. What is everyone's immediate goals in town?
Can I go see your mom too?
Sure.
Cool. She's great. I love her.
I suppose I'll just follow.
You suppose you'll let it in here?
I'll just follow along.
I will head to that inn, that tavern, and see if they, I'll pull out my loot and see if they are accepting, guest performers. And
Never mind, what he suggests sounds better.
Yeah, if you go to the Thunderbelly clan home, you might get manhandled a little bit. Dwarf handled.
If they are accepting performers, then I'll play some of my usual songs where I recount the tales of the adventures, and I'll see if I can ad-lib a new song about our most recent victory. Okay.
You're known around town as being like a kin now or associated with Wampum, correct? So, how much would that be common knowledge to the sort of inn where the Thunderbelly clan, or at least Wampum, would frequent?
I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah.
The last time we were here, you guys were considered part of the Thunderbelly clan. So I'm sure within 6 months you're not forgotten.
I would say they wouldn't refuse anybody who is kin or close to the Wampum clan, the Thunderbelly clan. So definitely not given a no when you're having this conversation, but I do want you to roll a performance check to see how well you come up with this song about Neuron Bane on the spot. And since it's music, I want at least one line from the song, just for my own benefit. You don't have to give me the exact line, but maybe like a quick synopsis of how the tone of the song. What story do you tell?
So, first, I am proficient in the lute, but I am not proficient in performance.
Okay, with loot. I mean, that still counts. Yeah.
All right. And I think I'm technically proficient, but and therefore I would normally apply a dexterity bonus to it, not necessarily a performer and not a charisma But either way, it's going to be the same thing. But I just
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's valid though. There are people who are really good at technical performances, and there are people who are really good at more like emotional conveying performances. So I studied music for 13 years. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I do agree with the Xanathar's idea of kind of combining tool usage skills. So roll what I say performance, roll what you would roll for this. And I think a 16 is a pretty good roll for someone who's not a bard. So
yes, 16 for my loot proficiency. And for Neuron Vein, what am I talking about? Oh, just an epic battle between light and darkness, the shadows and light, the mighty wampum. I'm using onomatopoeia in the name of wampum and the pounding that he gave and delivered to this dragon. And then the champion of light, Kale, who blasted the shadows to nothingness.
I love it. I love it. There are cheers and there are claps. It is, you guys started the battle at like dawn, and with all the time of the short rest and counting and everything, it's still like early morning. People are like here taking in breakfast. There's still probably ale being consumed. Maybe not everyone, but probably. And so there's like a decently sized crowd. Nothing like a tavern at night would be in like a bustling city. But the people that are there taking their meals and stuff are enthusiastic. There's claps and cheers and hollers, and there's like the sort of looks you get when like a new song is being performed. And there's, do you know this one? You know this one? I don't know this one. It was a new one to me. And they sort of like get engrossed in the story and that you're telling. And of course, since wampum's involved and one of the favorite sons of Mirabar, there's enthusiasm and is well received for sure. Did you put anything down for like tips?
Did I put anything down for tips?
Mm-hmm. As a performer would.
Oh, to
You don't have to
collect
have.
money? Oh, I see.
Yes,
No,
sorry. Did Lafcadio put like an open case down or anything like that signaling?
My objective was not to make coin. It was to spread the legends of my friends.
Perfect. All right. Good. So yeah, it seems to be very well received. And you think you've got definitely like a song you're happy with or something that you can definitely build from. Good job. All right. And while he's doing that, this is a whole set. Takes a while. He's probably gone. But how long would you say, how many songs you're playing? How long are you going to be gone doing this with Tazlin?
At least an hour of performing. Yeah.
That's
Tazlin writes down all the lyrics he says so that he can have the Skelly Boys do a cover later.
I love it. That's so great.
He's like, oh yes, in 100 years, no one will remember.
Tazlin the Great Schemer. He just ends up becoming like a band manager. I love it. Okay. And what are you doing while Lafcadio is performing other than transcribing the new song, if anything?
Getting drunk at like 10 in the morning. Maybe eating breakfast. So maybe he's having like some Beerios. It's like cereal with beer in it, and he's just like shoveling it in.
Okay. I can't imagine that would be good, but
it probably isn't, but I think Tazlin is just like, I don't even care anymore. The day I've had.
Fair. Okay.
And then he's also gonna unattune to his Ring of Fire Resistance and attune to the robe of scintillating colors.
All right. Sounds fantastic. You do see him taking out the robe and kind of like trying it on and like sitting with the Lafcadio, so maybe that'll be a conversation later. We'll see what happens. So, Wampum, Nas, you proceed on to visit Mama Thunderbelly. Where do you go straight there? Do you stop and pick her something up on the way? Tell me about what you're doing as you're proceeding through the town and what you stop and do until you get to your ancestral home.
Yes, I'm going to stop and, of course, get Mama some flowers.
What kind of flowers?
I would say she likes the color of like daisies and tulips. So
I love daisies. Perfect. Yeah.
I'll pick up that on my way, and I'll wait till we get home to actually take off my armor.
Okay.
But I'll get there, and when I walk in, I'll yell for her,
What do you yell?
Mama.
Ah. Does she have a pet name for you that she's always called you?
No, but you can make one up on the fly if you want.
well, I'll think on that one. What are you doing as you're walking with Wampum Nuts?
This is very normal. We've been doing this for years. Like, yeah, I'm just chilling.
Okay, perfect. So you walk into the doors of your home and yell, Mama! From a back room you hear. Well, what does your mom sound like? Why don't you tell me? What is she, is she like a boisterous lady? Is she soft-spoken? Is she like a doting mother? Or is she like the sort of like clap you on the back, like good boy?
All of the above.
Okay. Perfect mom.
Yeah, she more so than not is she's proud of me and the group that I've gotten into. She always enjoys the stories. She is so glad that I was able to revenge the Thunderbelly name by just a little bit of background for everybody who's listening. Drow took out a lot of the Thunderbelly clan. The clan leaders were all targeted by a group out of Luskin. And so when the clan leaders were all killed, Wampum decided that he was going to revenge the Thunderbelly name. So that's where he went to Luskin and found Nos to help him with his so-called bloodbath. So each and every target that we found and took out, Wampum sent the head of that target back home to Mama. So when all was said and done, the honor and the reputation of the Thunderbelly name was reinstated. So she's very, very proud of that. She didn't expect that to happen. I don't think she really believed that it could happen. So she feels like Nos and the rest of the group are Thunderbellies. They're part of the kin.
Wonderful. So you come in and you yell, Mama! And from another room in the house, you hear, that be my wampum?
Hi, Mama.
Running of feet. Do you have like people that work in the home for you? Is this like a big sort of like, obviously you guys are successful, you have money. Do you have like house like assistant staff type people as well? Or is it like this is the home where we live and they're elsewhere, if anything? Okay.
She does not believe in servants.
Okay. Yeah.
Of course I got my helmet off. I will not hug her because of all the spiky bits that are all over the armor. But I will touch her forehead to forehead, and I'll say, Mama, I think I need me a bath.
She comes running around like a corner of your home and she sees you and comes running up, and the spike armor, she kind of like grabs you by the side of your head and you touch foreheads, and she's, I'm so glad you're home. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think I need to wash some blood off.
Why didn't you do that? I have something to show you. Nos!
Mama!
Gives you. Does she have a pet name for you at all?
No, I'm just Nos, but
Yeah. You get
she's
a
Mama.
squeeze strong mom hug.
Yeah.
It's so good to see you all home. Where's everybody else?
Oh, they're back at the tavern where we're staying right now.
That's
I
fair.
think they had an idea that they kind of wanted this to be like an intimate thing, give us space, I guess.
We are going to need quite a few kegs for the coming home tonight.
Of course. Absolutely. Would you like a bath as well? You good? I can get you food? Do you want, what can I do?
Yeah, I should probably take a bath. I'm good on food. I don't want to take from y'all. The tavern's got plenty. So.
You two get cleaned up.
Yeah.
When you're ready, come find me. I have something to show you.
Did you get that last thing that we sent you? Yeah.
What was the last thing that you sent her?
A matron mother drow head.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Okay. I kind of figured.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. And when you say that, she just kind of like, there's this like slightly mischievous, but also excited look on her face. And she's like, yes.
Great.
I will have some drinks when you're done. Just come out when you're ready. Come find me.
Thanks, Mama.
Yeah. So you guys go and you get cleaned up. Is there anything specific you want to do while you're doing that? Wampum doesn't put on the spiked armor, I assume, when he's finished.
No, he'll put on his the finery, the silk, and the Wampum likes he has a big brimmed hat that he liked because of now I got a brain fart, the drow who's got the big hat.
Jarlaxle.
Jarlaxle. Even though Wampum hates drow with a passion, he thought that was extremely cool, and so he decided that he needed to get him a big brimmed hat.
All right, so you've got a big brim fancy hat. It looks splendid with the silks and the finery, the like well-crafted dwarven fine like clothes that are just like reminiscent of home and give you that kind of feeling of like, I have arrived. You both get cleaned up, and when you come back out, you find her sitting in a sitting room. She's got 2 glasses of Thunderbelly ale poured for you already, and she just looks like excited.
What be the surprise, Mama?
Follow me. And she starts taking you outside. Do you have a specific layout for your house in mind or anything? You have like go ahead.
It's a compound. The house is usually set. Well, the house is set to the right hand side, and then around the edge, around the circle compound, is where all the guild houses are. You've got the forge, you've got the tanneries, you've got the ceramics. It's all in a big circle around a compound.
And these are all owned by your family?
Yes.
In the center of the compound, as you come outside, this like morning light is streaming in, and it's just like this warm feeling that you get when you've been away from home for so long, and you're here and you've arrived and you're among friends and family and loved ones. And she takes you outside into the middle of this compound, and you see that there is this white ivory inlaid, sort of like raised, not raised terribly, like maybe an inch or so too thick platform, round circular platform on the ground, and it's got a big arch trellis over it where she started growing some like flowers and vines of the type that you brought her, the tulips and the daisies, and then some like creeping ivy and such things. And in the middle is a statue of the family members, several statues, like a tribute to the family members that you had lost. And so it's like this splendid like bronze cast of basically all the members that you lost, that you were avenged. And she's kind of like a little bit somber, but mostly excited. And she points to the ground and she says, Do you know what that is? And she's pointing at this like ivory kind of like, not dais, but circular like placed thing on the ground that looks like you could walk on it, that the statues are sitting on.
Tell me.
It's the bones from all of their heads. And we and they will forever walk upon them.
You never cease to surprise me.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
And she throws her arms around you, and she gets a little like teary-eyed because
Wampum is crying like a little 2-year-old.
Yeah. So you hug and squeeze each other, and you cry together, and the bronze cast figures are spitting images. Obviously, this is like finely crafted, like well done work. And they all look like they're proud of you and of their family, and they're like watching out over your entire compound while standing on the bones of your enemies.
Yeah, Wampum is finally letting all of that feeling of stress just let go. And then he stomps up the steps, and every step he's taken is a stomp. And he goes over and he gently touches all of the statues, and then he comes back to the front of them, kneels down, and just puts his head down for a few minutes.
And as you're doing that, she kind of reaches out to you, Nas, too, to kind of like that kind of like side hug, kind of like squeeze each other sort of thing. And she's crying and just like softly. That's sort of like there's a lot of mixed emotions that she's experiencing right now. And you all just kind of like take in a few moments as like the sunlight streams in and is like illuminating the faces, and you can see this like tribute to these lost loved ones that also includes this like we got you in the end sort of feel to it. And I think that's where we're gonna end for this week.
Oh, my heart!
So, thank you everyone for joining us. It's a few minutes early, but I feel like this is a good stopping point. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. It's super fun to hang out with you guys in chat and tell our stories and share together. And thank you for joining us on the new channel. This is where we'll be from here on out. Same time, different place. Well, I guess same place now. But yeah, so I'm Katie Quixotic. You found me everywhere there. I'm usually on Twitch and Twitter. And why don't we go counterclockwise as always, starting with Carl.
Hi, I'm Carl. I was playing Lafcadio Whitehorn, the Tabaxi Warlock. You can find me on this channel at this time, on this day, in the future. This is our home, and we are thrilled to be here. There is amazing community behind us, and I couldn't be happier about the welcome we have received. My favorite part about today's game was just Taslan being Taslan. He was very funny, and I am a fan. I stand Taslan.
I'm Casey H on social media, and I have been your champion of Time War. I'm Pillar Plains, Heckler, Big Fire Chicken, Shield, Fight Storm, Slayer of Shadows, Nos, the boss of Neverwinter. That was, of course, great job as always, Katie. I think my favorite part was a lot of things, including our expert use of the comfort cards throughout. Well done, team. That seems very natural. Good job.
Yeah, I was always clapping along and stuff anyway, so now I can just do this.
I was always going like that. Yeah.
We do have a question from one of our viewers about what the cards mean.
Oh, yes. Do you want to take that away, Casey?
Oh, sure. Well, we have 3 different kinds of cards you see. Hopefully you can see it with the green screen effect still going behind me. They are so that you can show how comfortable or uncomfortable you are during the game without having to break immersion or derail the conversation. So say that like an NPC is hitting on one of our characters and we say no a bunch and they're just not getting it. It could be part of the character, the NPC that we don't like. However, as a player, I could hold up either a hey card, a yellow card, and say, stop right there, let's keep it right where it's at. Or I could hold up a red card that says, no, let's take it back a step. Really don't like what's happening here. We need to cease immediately. The green yes cards are, please continue. I am loving this. In fact, it says right on it, more of that. I'm into this. Keep going. That was awesome. Is there a place where people can get these if they want to put them in their own games?
I think they were using these before the recent sort of safety kit thing came out. So I think this has been kind of like an adaptation of the like X's and O's things that people have done in chat, but I'm not sure where this specific thing came from or if they kind of like made it on their own. If you're here, Camille, or someone who's been around, if you know the like impetus of these particular cards in the descriptions, then feel free to drop that in chat so that everybody can partake in that. But if not, then join the Discord and we'll have that answer to you later. Yeah, so they're really handy. And actually, let's do Tazlin first, and then we'll do Malcolm.
Oh, okay. My name is Graham, or Graham Crackers, as some may call me. I play Tazlin, your Shadar-kai necromancer, I think. Yeah. And you can find me on social media at Twitch or on Discord. You can find me on our Discord. And that's about it. I've got nothing.
Hi, everybody. I'm John. I'm playing Wampum Thunderbelly. And what I really enjoyed tonight was, of course, Tazlin being his ornery little self. Especially, him and Wampum get into all kinds of trouble. So him just looking at me like, are you ready for some trouble? Just excites Wampum to no end. So, and for those of you who I think only a couple have noticed, because of us killing Narenvain, we did get level 15. So you can notice some of the new hit points, and we all got new spells, new abilities. So we will see how that comes out later on.
How that works out for everyone. Yep. And my favorite part is just sitting back and watching you guys roleplay with each other. You get so into your characters, and I absolutely love it. And it's really, really easy for me to play off of and come up with stuff. And the whole conversation with the Grobanash that we have now was really great. And I love that Nas doesn't really fully embody that sort of dumb barbarian trope that a lot of people fall into. Like, she's thoughtful, and she has this well, what about the repercussions of our actions, which I think that a lot of people just assume that a raging character wouldn't have. And so I really like that about Nas and Tazlin's antics and Lefkadio. Every single time we play, you all do something that just makes me go this was great. So the song was amazing. Thank you for appeasing me and doing that. And John, I love your description of your family and coming home and being this favorite son and everything. For those of you who don't know, I'm still very new to DMing this group. They kind of have a rotating thing, and I think this is our fourth game together. So I've only been doing this for 4 sessions so far. So we have lore masters, and there's a whole lot of history that I haven't gotten to take part in, but they're very, very all good at letting me go, okay, so why don't you tell me what this looks like so that I can take it and run with it. And I really appreciate you guys doing that for me, and just in general being awesome people. So yeah. Aww. I think that's what we'll wrap it up. Do we want to raid? Do you have something queued up for us?
I do see the Greyhawk channel is streaming some Dungeons or Dragons, so let's give them a raid.
Yeah, sounds good. Everybody be warm and say hi to the Greyhawk channel for us.
Thanks everybody.
Yeah. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.